Hi, I'm Sam Vokes at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. In the next hour, we'll reflect on some news which broke earlier on today with regard to the club's training facilities. We'll bring you the club statement. We'll chat to Phil in a few moments' time as well. We'll talk about this Tuesday's defeat. Delete. We'll reflect on Tuesday's win at home to Wigan. I don't know where I got defeat from. That's 2 wins in a row now. And look ahead to the visit of Northampton on Saturday as well. Luke's with us too.
Hello, we won on Tuesday, just in case everyone...
Where I got defeat from?
I'm not sure. It's fine, Colin. It's been a long day for everybody. Yeah. It's all good.
A lot's happened. We'll tell you about a fixture switch, which happened this week. We'll reflect on a Wycombe Wanderers player who's been called up for international duty. Very exciting news. And what else can we bring you? In the next hour, we'll hear from a former forward who is currently in Orlando.
Fancy.
I know. And we'll hear from a Wycombe Wanderers woman who's recently come back from America.
A fancy too, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's good work if you can get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't mind going to America myself. In fact, have you been to America?
No, it's very much on the top of my list.
Yes. I haven't been either. I'd very much like to go.
Let's go together, Colin.
Let's. That's an excellent trip.
Bye, everybody. That's this week's show.
Do the show from there.
Ooh,
Louisiana, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like Bob.
Do we know anyone? Anyone know Louisiana that we know?
More on that throughout the hour. Not our plans to go to America. Other stuff. Wycombe Wanderers related. Let's hear from Phil, first of all, with, the big news of the day, first of all, I guess.
What's that? Yeah, it's been a busy day. Breaking news overnight and this morning about Wycombe Wanderers purchasing the Bearwood Park training facility from Reading. And, basically I can't say anything else that's not on the club statement, really. So, Wycombe have been looking to upgrade their training facilities for a number of years. And this is looking like it's going to be happening.
So it's something that I guess will cause a lot of reaction from fans of both clubs, but it's just a case really of sort of waiting to sort of see what happens next, really.
Look, Reading fans are in a terrible position. They're a hugely historic football club. They've been in the Premier League. They're a massive club. They're a big part of their community, and thoughts with their fans about the situation, and it was a bad situation. It is a terrible situation for the club financially, and hopefully this can mean that they can stay up this season and the club keeps going financially because they can get the buyer and then they can start to build again.
And as the statement says, this could be a really good thing for Reading to help them financially, and obviously for Wycombe to have improved training facilities as well.
Look, they were talking about the shortfall in the coming months. They've already had lots of points deductions. They're still not completely safe on their current trajectory. If you then start factoring points deductions, it's going to be hard as well. And you feel for the players and the fans. They're the only people who are really suffering in all of this, and hopefully there's a resolution soon.
Well, we'll keep you up to date, obviously, on the Wycombe Wanderers show, and of course, do keep across the Wycombe Wanderers website and on Wanderers TV as well, where I'm sure there'll be more news on this subject to come as well. But more to on the pitch issues, and perhaps not the best performance on Tuesday night, but a great result.
Look, at this stage of the season, 3 points is 3 points, and in a few years' time, it may not be a game that we're all talking about, through misty eyes, whatever, but. For 45 minutes, I thought we were really good against a decent side as well. Wigan, I think, in a false position. Another team who've had points deductions, 8 this season. So if you add that on to their current title, they're there or thereabouts for the top 6. So I thought it was a really good performance in the first half. Wigan changed things up second half and we had to defend a lot deeper. We got very deep indeed defending, but clean sheet, 3 points. It wasn't pretty at times in the second half, but I think we've come a long way mentally because before Christmas, that probably wouldn't have been the 3 points. It would have been a late equaliser or perhaps even worse. So I think some real sort of mental fortitude there has been on display, which is good to see. And look, you can't play great every week and you can't, against decent sides in this division who are also trying to get as many points as they can like we are. Sometimes you have to dig in. So I was pleased to see that response from Wycombe and, a clean sheet and 3 points in front of your own fans. That's a good night's work, and I'm not sure if we're completely safe yet, but we're looking up now, definitely as fans, certainly.
And Josh Cohen, not a name you often see on the score sheet. Well, he wasn't on the score sheet, of course, but he nearly was.
Yes, yeah. Well, we've had his sort of customary 1 goal a season. We've already had that. I was convinced he got another one, but Sam Tickle in goal. He had a really good game up at their place in January, and chatting to some of the Wigan press afterwards, he's been one of their players of the season. And that's the unfortunate nature of being a goalkeeper, isn't it? If you make a mistake, it invariably becomes a huge talking point and affects games. And it did so on Tuesday. But, again, Josh really alert in the box, and he's really enjoying that new role. A bit further forwards in the 10. It's almost that sort of role that Matt Bloomfield played for Wycombe.
No, absolutely. And talking of goalkeepers, I think fans might have been expecting Max Strick to return on Tuesday night, but Franco had a great game as well.
Yeah, we chatted to the gaffer after the game. It's a tough choice for him because Max has been a really good servant for Wycombe Wanderers. Last season, fans are absolutely raving about him. This season, he's had a few moments. Like we mentioned, goalkeepers can make mistakes. But he's so dependable as a shot stopper, and he's a great character. But that red card gave Franco the opportunity. He's had to be very patient, Franco, for his games. And he was excellent at Reading. So the suspension was over on Tuesday. And Matt Bloomfield, I think, has gone... Well, he did. He went with Franco and said after the game that, the performance sort of verified that decision. But it's a wonderful problem to have now because Franco knows that he can't make a slip. And when Max gets back in, he can't make a mistake either, and that's what you want. You want players striving, knowing that any form of error now is going to be sort of them out of the team, and it's that really good, healthy competition that you want all over the pitch, really. And we've seen the other additions in January have really made a big difference to us as well. Strengthened the squad, given it depth. It's enabling the substitutions to come on and make a difference, like they did at Reading on Saturday. So it's a healthy sign, and Matt was referring to that too in the post-match interview on Tuesday night.
It's actually what I asked the boys before the game. I wanted us to put back-to-back victories together. It feels like a couple of times this season we've taken forwards and then maybe had a defeat. So to put back-to-back victories together and to show that sheer resilience and togetherness like we did at the end, yeah, obviously we have to be very, very pleased with it. There's lots of the aspects of the performance that maybe we'd like to have been better. And I totally understand that, but in terms of character and resilience and togetherness, I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Sometimes in a season you have to grind out a win. That second half, it was ground out, but it was worth it when the whistle went for the 3 points.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that's been missing from our season, if I'm honest. I think there's been plenty of games where we've only won when we've deserved to win, and I think maybe in terms of the balance of play, we were having to do our work out of possession. I think the way Wigan pass and their rotations and dominate the ball, we knew it was in for a tough game, but I couldn't be more proud of the way the lads have, I think we looked a little bit leggy, if I'm honest, tonight after a big emotional day at Reading on Saturday. The amount of energy the lads put into it, and not just physical but emotional as well, with the supporters, and it felt like it was just coming back to haunt us a little bit second half. We struggled to squeeze the line and get out, but sometimes that's the way the game goes, and to dig in there and show that resilience and character. I'm so proud of the players because they've wanted to pick up more points. We feel like we've been slowly moving forward and evolving, and it's nice to know that sheer Wycombe resilience and character is still there.
And we're really seeing the benefits of that January transfer window again. Nigel Lonvite coming in alongside Tafazoli tonight, both of whom imperious.
Absolutely excellent. Yeah, we knew we had a player on our hands when we got Nige, but he hadn't played any football, barely at all this season when we got him, so we had to build him up slowly. Obviously Taff and Joe Lowe have been fantastic recently, and we've still got Chrissy to come back now, getting himself back to fitness. So I feel like we've got really good competition for places back there. Nige was absolutely fantastic, as was Taff tonight, and defending crosses and making blocks. Look, the January transfer window was maybe slightly late in the window because of what we had to do, so we're really pleased with the business we did, and we knew that, we really felt that we were stronger coming out the other side of it than when we went into it. So yeah, really pleased with that, and everyone's contributing. I just said in the change room, it's not an 11-player game anymore. It is literally most games it's 5 changes, most games it's that whole squad that contributes, and as again tonight we needed to make those changes, and the finishers come on and did what we asked of them to do.
With the resolute defending, when Wigan did find a way through the back line, Franco Ravasoli was there with some big saves again tonight. Yeah,
we know he's a good shot stopper. Franco, he's never let us down when he's played earlier in the season. He found himself probably slightly unlucky to be out of the team a couple of times after doing all right, but those are the tough decisions that managers have to make, and coming off the back of Saturday, there was no way we could have left him out tonight, because I thought he was fantastic. Max is now back, and respectfully taken his place among the finishers, because Franco was done great on Saturday and probably even better tonight, pulled off some really good saves.
These are called good headaches for managers, aren't they?
Absolutely, that's what we've wanted, you know. And earlier in the season, when we were having 11 and 12 injuries and illnesses, and you know, we were not having these headaches, and now this is, you know, what you want. Unhappy players that not starting because there's so much competition. You know, people want to play. This is what we want, and you know, it might give me some sleepless nights, but it's certainly where we want to be.
Back-to-back wins means we can start looking up the table as well.
Yeah, I think we always have. We've respected where we are, genuinely respected where we are, and understood the situation. And I'm still respectful of what we've got to do, certainly. But we're a group that wants to look upwards. I'm a manager that wants to look forwards and upwards, and with positivity and optimism. Listen, we're far from cracking anything. There's loads of work to do. We absolutely understand that, but. Listen, we're full of energy and enthusiasm for the job in hand, and we want to make sure we come back out on Saturday and try and put in a good performance against a very good Northampton team.
I think what's really nice as well, coming off the back of that and hearing, you know, his words and you know, that's obviously 2 wins in a row now, and 3 on Saturday would be excellent as well, obviously.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? 3 consecutive wins. It can, you know, and in a tight table, it can really change the face of things. But look, Northampton are a good side. They're in different form at the moment. First season back in League One. John Brady's done a fantastic job there. And they were, I would say, quite unlucky to lose against us earlier in the season. They played really, really well. I think, you know, the pattern of play they and how they used the ball was really good. I think if they had a couple of extra sort of cutting edges up top, they would probably be sort of in that top 6. But for their first season back in League One, I think they've done really, really, really well. And, you know, they're safe. They're not going to get relegated. But saying that, if Wycombe win on Saturday on goal difference, we'd go above them, which, you know, would be a fantastic achievement as well. But, you know, we've still a lot of games to go. And if we can get in that top half of the table, that would be fantastic. But then I'm sure Northampton fans are thinking the same too. So it looks like a mid-table clash on paper, but there is stuff riding on it.
And a great opportunity for fans to come down to the ground on Saturday as well and get behind the team, because of course they don't play again until Good Friday now. Yeah,
at home, yeah. So I think this is our penultimate Saturday home game, because the last game of the season is our final home game against Charlton. So, you know, Good Friday, Pompey, and then we've got, I think, a midweek possibly somewhere. Very, very busy April. But yeah, it's crazy because you kind of get halfway through the season in terms of the games played, but you've got sort of a lot less than half the time of the season to put it all in. Then you factor in a trip to Wembley as well, and April looks incredibly busy. But again, a bit like what I was talking about, nice problems to have. That is a lovely problem to have for Wycombe with that trip to Wembley. Hopefully, by the time we get to April, we've got enough points on the board that we can safely say that we are a League One team for next season. And then I think, you know, and I'm sure the gaffer would agree with this as well, then it's almost like an elongated pre-season, because it's all then about the preparation for the next season and building momentum and going into the summer and being able to pick that up again when it all kicks off again, unbelievably, in August, whenever it is.
I was going to invite you to do some sort of spring-related pun, but as a pun person yourself, I thought there might be an opportunity for you to mention some sort of spring-related, because it'll be spring. Also in daffodil news, sort of, great for Jolo, who got his call up to the from the under-21s to the Wales team for their Euro playoffs.
You know, he got his full cap, didn't he? His first one earlier in the season. Then he was back in the under-21s, and now back in the full squad. And look, I'm not surprised. He's been excellent. Certainly in the recent run as well, he's been really fantastic. He's got great attitude. He's a really good lad, and yeah, it's wonderful to see. You know, a home nation international owned by us. You know, he's our player, and you know they've updated the board now in the corridors of the main stand where we have our internationals in there. You know that he's on the board now, which is wonderful. So yeah, congratulations to him. And these are big games as well. You know, playoffs. So it should be interesting.
And I know we've spoken to you in the past as well about how well, you know, the new arrivals have done since they've arrived on the side. But he's definitely one of those who has. Yeah,
he's grabbed his opportunity of regular football. That's why he moved. He wanted that game time, and it's a great advert for footballers to maybe step down a level, to get the game time, you know, and then to really progress, because there was a tension for him in January, and I'm sure there will be in the summer as well. But he's a Wycombe Wanderers player. He's a Wycombe Wanderers asset. He's someone that's taken the chance for first team football and really relished and grown with it, and it's been a joy to watch.
We'll enjoy the game on Saturday.
I certainly will.
Always a pleasure, of course, to have Phil on. If you have just got in and you haven't heard the news that we were referring to today, at 1 o'clock this afternoon, the club put out a statement as follows. Wycombe Wanderers can confirm that they are engaged with Reading Football Club in expectation of the purchase of the Bearwood Park training facility. Last weekend, the owner of Reading issued a public statement in which he announced that Bearwood Park, owned by Reading, was available for sale. The club continues that they have been working for some years to either substantially upgrade their facility at Marlow Road or move to a facility that would allow for the necessary expansion and enhancement for the club's vision for the future. The parties are moving towards forward on an exclusive basis with the expectation, the club say, of completion. In the interim, Wycombe hope that if a transaction is completed, it will provide Reading with the necessary financial support to ensure that they are able to meet their ongoing financial obligations. Further updates will be communicated when available. And obviously, as you can imagine, the fan reaction online has been, well, mixed and been extreme in some cases. But we'll bring you more information on that when we get it as well. Of course, nice to be able to reflect on the pitch activities as well. And you were saying on Tuesday night, there were 7 minutes where you didn't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah, there may be actually just one thing on that, and something that Phil mentioned as well, is that of course, it's a horrible situation that Reading are in, and as Phil said, our thoughts are with all the Reading fans, because it is just it's an awful situation.
Of course.
So the last 7 minutes, or the added minutes of 7 minutes, I didn't really know what to do with myself, because as Phil mentioned, Wycombe were defending quite deep. I think they got as far as back as Tesco's in Sands. So I kind of didn't know what to do with myself. There's a scene in Friends, the TV show, where Chandler, or Matthew Perry, randomly just picks up I think it's a vase, or it's a phone, I can't remember, while he's on the phone, because it's like just a reaction. I started moving furniture in the gantry, so I just started picking up chairs. I don't know why. I didn't even realise I was doing it, but I just started picking up chairs because it was quite tense.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like 60-minute makeover, but it just in gantry, small chair world.
Nice insight. Thank you
very much. That's all I have for insight-wise. Sorry.
Oh, okay. More from Matt Bloomfield to come later on in the show as well. You can get more, of course, on Pre Match Duels.
Yes, you can.
On Wanderers TV. Check out Wycombe Wanderers website for more details too.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from Ellie Hickey from Wycombe Wanderers Women. We'll also preview Joe Jacobson's testimonial event, which is happening at Adams Park next week as well. But first, with thanks as always to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, I'm sure you'll agree we've had some great guests on recently, and this week, no exception. I'm very pleased to say you can hear now from Declan Link, who you may remember as a Wycombe Wanderers forward from the 80s who played at Lokes Park. He's now, and as of the past, almost 40 years, has been residing in Orlando, Florida, and as you can imagine, has very fond memories of his time at the club.
I remember meeting Paul Bentz in a pub in Staines. I'd never met him before, and him suggesting that I move over from Staines Town over to Wycombe, and then I guess the dominoes started moving, and I ended up going with Simon Reed, who obviously most of the fans listening will remember. Great guy, great player. Over to Wycombe in that, I think it was 84-85 season. And we had a fantastic season there. Ended up getting promoted to the conference or the Gola League. And then I obviously departed sort of midway through the season in some somewhat strange circumstances.
And we'll get onto that as well. But what were your first impressions when you arrived?
It was a lot of it was, the tradition of the club. I mean, Brian Lee and the board, were fantastic, the way they represented football, the club, the area. I always really got excited when we would be training at Bisham Abbey, because, again, not many people got the chance to do that. And then, again, like any time you move to a new club, especially as a forward, it's all about how you start off. If you don't score in 10 games, you're probably not going to have any credibility. But both Simon and I got off to a pretty good start, and we continued after that. So, I mean, it was a very, very good move. And as I said before we started the broadcast, I have extremely fond memories of Wycombe Wanderers. It was a fantastic time in my life, great club. And only recently have I really found out on Facebook and social media about the Old Players Association, and have listened recently saw the vivid memories when I listened to Mark West and Graham Bressington and Kevin Day recently. So it's just a wonderful club and full of history and tradition.
And just being fortunate enough to be able to speak to them now and getting your recollections as well, that there's such a bond, and obviously the experiences that you've all been through together and the great camaraderie between all of you as well, and to have experienced that at the time, both in dressing rooms but also on the pitch as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been 39 years since I left to come over to Florida. So the memories are a little bit spotty now as I'm nearly 60 years old. But, the trying to remember all of some certain specific games, certain things that happened during the 2.5 years I was around the club, it just brings a smile to my face. It was just wonderful times.
Are there any occasions or games or goals that particularly stand out? I was reading a report online about, I think it's a game against Barking in particular, where I think it was Mark West missed a penalty, or there was an occasion where you came close to scoring, and Alan Gain was quoted afterwards as saying that he'd give the penalty taking back to yourself.
I don't remember that game, but I do specifically remember the games against Burton Albion in the Cup when we tied at Lokes Park. We drew, and then we went up to Burton on a Tuesday night, and there'd been trouble at Lokes Park, which I'd never really experienced before. So they were baying for blood when we went up to Burton. And I remember scoring a goal on the near post. A corner came in and got above someone, got in front of someone and headed it in. We ended up losing that game 2-1. But it was quite an intimidating atmosphere in Burton that night. And then there's many other games. I mean, I remember the Bognor game where I was a bit off sorts, and I think I missed a penalty and got subbed. And that was a momentous night. I think we won the league or something. And then the other game I remember particularly vividly is when we won the Berks and Bucks Cup at Wolverton against Aylesbury. And I think both George, my brother, and myself scored in that game. And I just remember what a beautiful setting it was.
And did it feel at the time that you were really, playing with great players? Obviously, you mentioned Mark West and what he went on to achieve, and Gary Lester as well, and people like Noel Ashford who were in that team at that time as well. Yeah,
I mean, I look back on. It's almost like I look back on it like there was two teams. There was the first team that Paul Bentz put together with Gainey as his assistant when I first came there, and there was people like Elvis, Kevin Collins, Dave Burgess, Anton. Et cetera, in that team. And then obviously I went away for a year and came back in January of 1987. And that was the time period where Noel Ashford and Keith Barrett had turned up, and that they were legit English semi-professional internationals, great guys, great fellas. And it looked, to me, having been out of the scene for a year, that in itself was a massive progression. And the interesting thing is, anyone who remembers those times, Noel was an interesting character. Noel ended up, after I finished at university over here, I ended up coaching at the same university as the assistant coach with my good friend Keith Buckley for 32 years. And Noel's son, Luke, ended up coming to play with us at Rollins College in Orlando, Florida. So there was a period when I saw a lot of Noel because he lives up in Connecticut.
What a small world.
It really is. It really is. Paul Bentz's son, Steve, who I remember meeting him when he was like an 8 or 9 year old. He ended up getting recruited by me to come to Rollins as well, and has ended up staying over here as a very, very successful tech business person living in Pittsburgh, and has a lovely family with 4 gorgeous kids.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely a small world.
And what was it like playing under the different managers? Because obviously, as you say, Paul Bentz brought you in, and then you played under Alan Gain as well.
I mean, I've always, loved both of them as people. They both had different styles. Anyone who'll know them will understand. Paul was a journeyman footballer who obviously played many years at Brentford and is a legend over there. Alan is Alan. He's just a funny guy, loves the sport. I know he's a regular attendee at the ex-Wycombe players events. Paul left the club to go back into the business world. Alan took over, and that season when I joined back up in 86, 87, that was in that time one of the most successful seasons I think Wycombe Wanderers had ever had. So fair credit to Alan.
And did it make it extra special playing at Wycombe as your brother played as well?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, we both talk. George lives in the UK still, and I still see him on a regular basis, and we talk all the time. And we do look back with very fond memories of the time that we were spent on Lokes Park and many of the different stadiums around the southeast of the country. All credit to Budgie, to Dave Burgess, because George was at university in Oxford, and if it wasn't for Dave, George would never have ended up coming to play at Wycombe. Dave was effectively his early day Uber driver, driving him back and forth from Oxford to Wycombe.
And it's really nice, isn't it? Because you mentioned, you say this is, we're talking about 39 years ago since you left, which if you say it quickly, it doesn't sound long ago. But when you reflect on it, it's quite a long time, isn't it? It's fantastic that you've got those, as you say, memories that you can sit back and recall it and what you all went through together.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came to the States, I was very, very happy to get a newspaper that was 3 weeks old to catch up on everything. Obviously, fast forward to this year, 2024, we get the games over here, more games, probably better coverage than you get in the UK. And that's everything from the Premier League to all of the main European leagues through to, Championship, Division 1, Division 2. We get so much access to stuff over here. I get absolutely nothing done on Saturdays and Sundays nowadays because it's just back-to-back Premier League games, FA Cup games, or if I want to see a game in the Championship, I'll watch a game in the Championship on ESPN. So the times have definitely changed significantly, but the memory is almost like it was yesterday.
Does it feel quite strange as well to reflect on how the game's changed as well? Because it's incredible to think that, obviously you're part-time at Wycombe, you played on a sloping pitch, some of the conditions that I'm sure you played in, some of the types of tackles that you were probably victim of.
I was very fortunate considering, I'm not your traditional sort of large-framed 6'2" centre forward. I was somehow able to look after myself, not get involved in too many bad situations. I actually do remember in the I think it was the 84-85 season, we played Enfield at Lokes Park, and then Keith Barrett was on the opposition. And I remember running down the wing, and I'd got off to a decent start. I'd scored some goals, and I suddenly felt this right elbow in my ear from Keith Barrett, and he said to me, "Welcome to the big time, son." As it turned out, Keith ended up being a teammate down the road and was a terrific lad. But with regards, the field at Lokes Park was definitely an advantage to us from a tactical, strategic perspective. But talking of the tackles, I do vividly remember playing at Wealdstone and Andy Harmon getting done in a classic Vinnie Jones tackle that was terrible, but that was Vinnie Jones as he used to play. But fortunately, knock on wood, I actually got through my career, and it's only last year that I had a full knee operation, and I'm still fairly active and in good shape, luckily.
And did it feel like you were at the club at a special time? As you mentioned, they got promotion into the conference or the Gold League as it was then, and you're doing pretty well in the cup competitions as well.
Well, just the fact, the memories are a bit vague, but I remember one of the games at Lokes Park, and Sir Stanley Rouse was the one who was presenting the trophies. That just doesn't happen at every other club. Someone as famed from a global perspective in the history of the game to be, getting a medal and shaking hands with Sir Stanley Rouse. So, yeah, as I said, I used to get a buzz just going to Bisham because it was just unreal in many respects, because I do also remember we played a friendly at Bisham against Tottenham, the first team, and they had, I think, Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Ardiles, all of that vintage players. And then we played a friendly against their reserves on the Saturday at Lokes Park. Again, that sort of stuff was just what happened. It definitely didn't happen at other clubs. And, another good memory is the centenary game when we played Leicester City and Gary Lineker and all those were playing.
Like you say, these are such special memories to have, and there is something special about Wycombe. I don't know if it's possible to, as a former player yourself, but to be able to kind of put your finger on what's so special about the club. You touched on when we started speaking about, how well organised things are behind the scenes, and how it's such a sort of family club, isn't it?
Yeah, no question about it. One, it's a good club because it's such a magnet for the area, that part of Buckinghamshire. But then on top of that, you obviously with the game nowadays and players coming in on transfers from other parts of the UK nowadays, international players coming in. I just get the sense, because I definitely follow the results of either, Fulham, which is the team that I supported as a kid and I was a season ticket holder with, QPR, where I played as a junior, and random other clubs. Like my son's one supports Chelsea, one supports Man U, and then sadly one supports Tottenham. So I always look for the results, but Wycombe is definitely one of the teams I always look out for and try and stay up to date with their successes. And obviously when things aren't going well, it's sad, but that's football for you.
And you touched on the circumstances surrounding your departure midway through the season.
Yeah. Looking back on it, it's not every day that someone who was, doing very well in the conference, the goal of league scoring midway through the season, decides to up and leave his full-time job training to be a bank manager and heading off to work with Mickey Mouse in Florida. The story came about that my brother George, before he went to university, had 9 months to, do like people do, have a gap year. And he ended up getting a job at Epcot. And I came out on holiday that summer in June, spent 2 weeks, and just for the heck of it, decided, well, I might as well interview for a job. You never know. And obviously got back into the swing of things in the UK. We were all excited about being in the conference, the Gola League, and got the season started. But it was quite hard for me because I was, as I said, training to be a bank manager. It was very structured working for Barclays. And, with the travel involved, Saturday, Tuesday, it was becoming quite hard for me to get out of the bank on time, to meet the bus on time and all that sort of stuff, to head up to Scarborough or Northwich, Victoria or Altrincham or wherever we were playing. So out of the blue, I got this letter from Disney in October of 1985 saying they'd fly me over from Heathrow to Miami. There was no direct flights into Orlando in those days. And then they'd connect me on a flight up from Miami to Orlando. And I got a year's contract having some fun and some sun. So I did it. And looking back on it, I don't have any regrets at all. Sounds
fantastic. And also, you got to play football. You probably call it soccer now, but you got to play football to a pretty decent standard in America as well.
Yeah, I must admit, the year I spent at Disney was just doing what young people do, having fun. I actually had a trial at the end of close to the end of the year with a major indoor soccer league team where Gordon Jago was the manager, the coach in Dallas. I can't even remember what they were called. They were called the Dallas something. And anyone who remembers me playing, I'm not an indoor player, but I very nearly got a contract to go and play for them in Dallas in the indoor professional league. But obviously after my year, I travelled around the States a bit and ended up coming back to the UK, and which is where I played with Wycombe in those successful last 5 months of the 87 season. And I found that my body was in the UK, but my mind was sort of keep going back to the States. And I'd been offered scholarships to go to university and play football over there, soccer. So fortunately, I developed relationships with the college that I've ended up coaching at for the last 32 years with Keith. And it was in Winter Park, which is a gorgeous suburb of Orlando. And I ended up fortunately going back, which isn't a bad thing, to get my degree, my undergraduate degree, and playing for 3 years. And then I played so-called professionally. It was really semi-professional, but we did do quite a bit of traveling with what was effectively what Orlando City is now in the MLS, the local MLS team. They were called the Orlando Lions. The league was okay. It was called the American Soccer League. So we travel up and down the East Coast. But the great opportunity we had was we used to have a lot of international teams coming in. So I got to play against Bayer Leverkusen, Freiburg, Malmo, played against a Brazilian All-Stars team that included Rivellino and a whole load of players from that vintage. These games were in the Citrus Bowl, which is the 65,000 stadium here in Orlando. And then one of the fondest memories was, again, with Keith and myself. We're pretty well connected football-wise here. Orlando, where I live, hosted one of the five games in the 1994 World Cup. And the Irish team turned up here in Orlando. Keith and I went out and had a few pints with Jack Charlton and Maurice Setters the Monday after they got here. And after about 4 pints of Guinness, we said to Jack, "What are you doing next weekend?" And they looked at each other and they said, "Well, we're not really doing anything, we're training." So we said, "Do you fancy a game?" So we ended up playing the Irish national team 1 week in a behind closed doors friendly with some of our players, and I played in that game with the world's media sort of kept away, and we played them before they went to Meadowlands in New York and beat Italy with Ray Houghton's goal in the first game of their World Cup campaign. So some unbelievable memories over here.
What a brilliant story. You seem to have adapted so well to American life as well. You'd think that, the pace would be very different, the culture would be very different.
I almost, have two personalities, because I've never lost touch with my roots. I typically go back to the UK at least once a year, if not twice sometimes. Obviously, my family is over there. My wife, again, this is amazing what a small world it is. My gorgeous wife, Katie, is from Sevenoaks in Kent. I met her over here. So, the chances of us meeting in the UK because of the density of the population would have been very remote. But we ended up meeting here because she was in the travel industry. So, I look at it that I can get on a flight from Orlando International Airport at 7:00 in the evening, and I'm at Gatwick or Heathrow 7:30 the next morning, which is what I'll be doing next week for the England-Brazil game.
No, absolutely, and hopefully you'll get to come to the Portsmouth game as well at Adams Park, which will be fantastic for you to, prompt even more memories, I imagine.
Well, I know that my brother George is definitely going, because both myself and George are good friends with John Messino, who's the Portsmouth manager, with his dad. Me and Gordon have been travelling to World Cups around the world since 2002 in Japan and Korea. And John was a 16-year-old in those days. He played for Wycombe for a while as well. I don't know if you know that, Colin. So I know that George is going to be at the game at Adams Park on Good Friday with John's dad, Gordon. And hopefully I might stay on and get to see that game as well.
Well, considering your surname, it seems only right and proper that you have so many links with many people in and around football and the whole globe. And I'm sure fans will be keen to kind of know what you're doing these days as well in Orlando.
Since I left the UK, I've always lived in Orlando. I love living in Orlando. I have 3 boys, one who's 28, who lives in Boston, works for one of the US Airlines, one who's 22, who is actually doing his MBA at the college that I coached at and played at, Rollins. And if anyone's out there wanting to come over to America, I've got some good connections at Rollins if you want to come and play football and get a good degree. And then my youngest, Jack, is nearly 20, and he works for a good mate of mine, and he's learning construction management, project management in the flooring business. They all love football. They all had the dubious distinction of having me coach them for many years. And I had a whole load of assistant coaches. So I was a headless chicken for many, many years. But I now have been working in the recruitment industry. I worked in the corporate world for many, many years. And then I started my own small boutique IT, finance and accounting recruitment company 8 years ago. And that's going very well. I love doing that because it's a sort of extension of my personality. I like helping people out. I like positively impacting people's lives when they lose their jobs or when they're happy in their jobs. And obviously, I've got a very good network and connections in the Orlando area. One, because there's about 100,000 expats living here. There's all of my college alumni and other people who I know from the college, the university. And then on top of that, I've been in the tech recruiting sector for 29 years in Orlando. So I have a very extensive network of tech people who know me and trust me. So it's wonderful business. Nowadays, obviously, with an internet connection, with Wi-Fi, because both my wife and I like to travel, we can work from anywhere. And a lot of the time, people don't know that we're not in Orlando.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you and share your memories. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
My pleasure, Colin.
Great chatting to Declan Link. Really brilliant to hear from him. And if everything works out, you might well be seeing him at Adams Park against Portsmouth on Good Friday.
Ooh. Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers show still to come. We'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield, looking ahead to the visit to Northampton Town and talking points targets. Well, sort of. And also,
Not really.
The words points and targets are mentioned.
Yeah. And then he says yes.
Also, we'll preview Joe Jacobson's testimonial event, which is Is that haunted as well?
Yes.
Which is happening at Adams Park next week. But first, or this week, depending on when your week starts.
Or when you're listening. Yeah.
Exactly. But first, with thanks to Wycombe Wanderers Women, we can hear from Ellie Hickey, who only joined last month, a few weeks ago anyway, and is looking forward to making her first team debut, let's find out how she's settling in.
I think I'm settling quite well, if I'm honest. I was very nervous at first. Coming into a new team, not only hot, like, obviously it's new and coming back from America, but in halfway through the season, that was tough as well because everybody's obviously so well glued together, and then I'm just a newbie who's thrown in the middle of all of it. Like, it was really scary, but I'm really, really enjoying it. They have done a good job of making me feel involved, so that's really nice.
And like you say, quite strange in a way to be joining at this stage of the season with so few games left.
I know, yeah. It was very unexpected for myself as well. I was supposed to be in America, but I decided that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, and I wanted to come back to English football, really. I was in Georgia, in Atlanta, so I'd been playing there since August. I had actually moved schools. I was originally in St. Louis, Missouri, but I wasn't very happy there, so I thought I would try something new, something different, and I just basically, after speaking to like a few friends, I realised that this is not where I'm happy at most. Like, me and my family are really, really close, so being thousands of miles away was not ideal if I wasn't very happy, so coming back was the best thing I could have done for myself, really.
No, really nice, and glad you'll be feeling happier at Wycombe as well, and nice for you as well because you played at Watford previously and have worked with Colin and Dan as well. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I know. I've known them since I was 15, so we have a very good relationship. Carl said he's like this with all his players, but welcoming with open arms and things like that, and he definitely has showed me that. And one thing I do really like about Carl is that he doesn't give special treatment. Like, even though I've known him for years and I was his captain for 2 years, like we have a very close relationship, and I have so much respect for him, and I just feel like he does everything really right. Like, he would never let me come in and just take anyone's place if I didn't deserve it, and even if I was deserving of it, it's still not the right time considering these girls have been there for so much longer than I have. Like, just throughout pre-season as well, like, they've obviously shown their work throughout the season, so that's something that I like. Even though I was allowed to be let in, he's still very, no, you have to go by this and by the rules, and I really respect that of him.
And really nice for you, I guess, to bring your sort of leadership qualities, as you say, having been a captain before and into this group.
Yeah, I definitely think that I can bring a lot of leadership. I think it is hard at first when you move into a new team to carry on your leadership, but because obviously you don't want to take over or anything like that, but for me it does just come quite naturally, and I think that I do quite well with supporting people around me. Like, being a centre-back, I can see everything in front of me, and I think the best way for me to do my job is to have my leadership skills.
I was going to say, it must really help be playing in the position that you do for that.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, it really does, and I've definitely had positive feedback in the past, just on how well my leadership is. Whether I'm the one who holds the line at the centre back or if I'm following someone, my leadership skills wherever I am doesn't really change at all, if I'm honest.
So would you say that's the position you're most comfortable in, or have you moved about a bit previously, or could you see yourself playing other places?
Well, my first year in America, I actually got put CDM, and for me, I was running around like a headless chicken. That is definitely not a position that I like to play. I enjoyed it because I would get to touch the ball more, because when I play as a centre-back, I like to sit back, watch and play simple, and I like to be open to the game, whereas in playing CDM, for me, it was a lot faster and a lot more... Yeah, to be fair, I didn't enjoy it there. That wasn't my type of position. I would say, for me, I am definitely just a centre-back, and I've learned that now over the last few years, for sure.
You won the bench for the game against Ascot, and you're looking to make your debut in the remaining games as a starter. But it seems more in the sort of the modern game that they don't really call them substitutes anymore, do they? They're more sort of finishers, or players come off the bench and make a real impact. So it's great whether you're involved in any of those aspects, really. Yeah,
I saw that name finishers the other day. I was quite confused. I've been almost out of the game, like I've been somewhere else because of America. I feel like when I've come back, things have changed. But I really like the name for that. I think it's good, and I think that with Carl, I was on the bench for Ascot, and he said to me, no promises, and I said, no, that's fine. I'm absolutely open for that. If he believes that I can come on and make an effect, then I know he'll put me on. He doesn't mess me around like that. He doesn't mess any players around like that, I don't think. I think that that's the good thing. That's why I was really grateful to even be on the bench and even be thought to be picked for the team. I was really, really happy about that.
It seems such a fantastic group out there at the club, and we've spoken to there's the under-23s and the under-18s as well. A real great pathway for youngsters to come into the first team from lower down as well.
I definitely think so. I think it helps so much more when you've been, for example, the girls from the under-18s. They are great girls, and some of them, like a lot of them, have so much potential. Like when you see them play, when I compare myself to them at 15 or whatever, 15, 16, like it is very different because I went to a very quite a low-end club before I went to Watford. I think the way that the programme is of the 18s, 23s and first, I think that's such a good way for the younger ones to build up and get into high leagues, different tiers and things like that. I think it's a really good development system.
And have you noticed a real change in both the standard and also the profile of the women's game in the time that you've been playing?
Yes, I have, definitely. I think if talking back to America, for example, even how English football is and how American football is, I think that we're very technical, they're very fitness. But then even if you think about when we were 15, it's just in these last, 6 years, it has progressed so much more. The women's game is so much more aggressive and so much more technical and powerful. You can even see on the TV how much change it has had. It's completely grown, I think. And I think when I started with Carl, I remember having the conversation with him about when you were 15, women's football was not this big. And now, being 21, it's completely changed. It's so much more bigger now. It's so good to see.
When you put it like that, it doesn't seem that long ago, does it? 15 to 21, but so much has happened in that time.
Yeah. For other people, 6 years is not a big amount of time, but because I was 15 is so young, I'm still only 21. 6 years for me is a long period of time. And in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of time for football to change. But if you think it's this much in 6 years, what can 20 years do? It's the growth is unreal.
And have you noticed the development in your own game as well? Perhaps it's really helped you to get, to be in America for that time, and then obviously playing at Watford as well. Now at Wycombe.
Well, Watford was definitely a confidence boost. I think getting captaincy, massive confidence boost. Having my teammates and coaches believe in me was great. Honestly, being in America definitely knocked my confidence. The game is very competitive and it's a difficult one. But being back at Wycombe, it's shot straight back up again. I feel like I found who I am as a player again, and completely just my confidence has grown so much more than I could ever want it to. I'm just a completely different player to as I have been over the past few years. It's really, really great.
And what would you say that you're hoping to achieve in the remaining games of the season?
Honestly, just minutes. Yeah, I'm really happy if I was able to get any minutes whatsoever, whether it be in the first half, second half, however it plays out. Obviously, I know that there is only 4 games left, so it's going to be hard competition, trying to get who gets to be starting and things like that. But I would just really love to get minutes, if I'm honest, and see how that goes.
And really nice for you as well to really kind of, sort of establish yourself in the team and, for the next season and the post-season friendlies that are coming up as well.
Yeah, I think those would be good as well. I think post-season friendlies are always good because that's also where you get tried more. For people who maybe don't get to play so much, it's a good opportunity for us to say, well, this is why I should be starting or this is why I should be playing, and we get to prove ourselves to the coaches and to the team and stuff, so that's good.
And really nice for you as well to be able to share your experience with younger members of the group as well who can learn so much from what you've done.
Yeah, I've heard quite a lot of the girls spoke about America as well, and I think I don't regret doing it at all. It wasn't what I planned. I really did go for football and it didn't go how I'd wanted it to, but I do not regret it at all. I do not regret at all. I think it is a really great experience. I used to think that going to America you could basically find a profession out there of football more, but I honestly think that at home here it is growing so much more faster and it's changing so much more over here than it is in America, and it just took me a little bit of time to realise that. But I do think that these younger girls, they'll love it. It is. I think it is one to experience for sure.
And do you set yourself goals that you'd like to achieve both personally and for the team as well?
Yeah, my personal goals are usually just more about my growth. My confidence and things like that, and obviously that's grown more. For the team, I feel like everybody wants to win, but I think when everybody achieves their individual goals and feels better in themselves, works on themselves, it makes a massive impact to the team anyways. Yeah, I think that's how it does go a lot, because then if we want to work for ourselves, we want to work for everyone else, that it all just kind of comes hand in hand.
And I guess it's really nice as well for you to be able to, combine things like, training and playing, obviously, but with your, life outside of football as well.
Yeah, that was it. I definitely enjoy playing under the lights and playing in turf and having the Tuesday and Thursday nights back again. I think that's really nice. It's something that I really look forward to in my week. I would play every day if I could. I would play every day, and if that had changed, that would be me all over. But I've really enjoyed coming back home and coming back to almost like my roots, like back to English football in the evenings, and the weather even was bad, and it's just all those little things make it so great again.
So what do you do outside of football?
Currently, I just work at a gym. I'm a receptionist at a gym, so that I've got as a part-time job, which just gets me basically the money that I need, really. I'm lucky enough to live with my mum and dad, so I don't have to pay rent or anything. So, yeah, I do that. I go to the gym. I like to stay fit, like not just running, but weights as well. I've got 2 dogs, so I take the dogs out a lot and see my friends. So just very chilled at the minute, luckily, so which is really nice.
It sounds like a really nice balance as well, doesn't it? Because you've got, as you say, you've got the work and the football and sort of downtime as well.
Yeah, I like that, because for me, football is downtime as well. If I've not had a good day and I've got football, without fail, every time it makes me feel better. That's one thing that I do love about it. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I've got football tonight. It's like, yes, like I'm happy to always be there all the time.
It's a real release, isn't it? Because whatever you've got on outside of the game, you can just sort of put that to one side, and a great sort of social experience as well. You hear, there was a great video, wasn't there, for International Women's Day, where a couple of the girls said they've made great friends through the club as well. Yeah,
I think as well what helps with that is I feel like football friends are like the quality ones. You've obviously all got something in common as well, which makes it so much better, and then you bond with each other and you become closer than you think. Like, you only see each other 2-3 times a week, but the closeness that you get in the amount of time is crazy. So it is really nice to just, like, not just there to work hard, but you can also see your friends at the same time, and I like that.
And you must be so much looking forward to making your debut, as you say, in these remaining games.
I am. I hope it comes. I am really looking forward to it. I just want to show really the team and the coaches that I'm all in, and I want to work hard and be playing in these games for sure, because that would mean a lot to me.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you. I wish you all the best for the remaining season, and look forward to catching up with you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Real pleasure chatting to Ellie, and don't forget, Wycombe Wanderers Women they're down to their final 4 league games of the season. We'll be following that. They've got some post-season friendlies to come as well. Let's now, though, catch up with manager Matt Bloomfield, speaking after Tuesday's game, but looking ahead to the visit of Northampton with Phil.
Yeah, April's just become even busier, hasn't it? Because of the news of the game next week. So, yeah, look, April's going to be extremely busy. We want to make sure we do our business on the pitch before we have our game, our final. So, yeah, I want us to turn up Saturday ready to go. We've got loads of football still to play. We've got loads of points still to play for, and I'm hungry for more. I think the thing about winning is it breeds that inner determination to go and have more feeling like this, because there's nothing better in football than winning. Losing hurts a lot, so you have to enjoy the wins and be hungry for more. Northampton Town here on Saturday, a good opportunity to build on these 2 wins as well. Yeah. Obviously we've got a tough game against really respected opponents who gave us a real good game, by the way, at Sixfields earlier in the season. So yeah, it's going to be. John's done a great job at Northampton. They've got a real good team. I love the way they play, and they've got some real good players in amongst their group. So yeah, but we have to head in there with energy. We've got a couple of knocks again tonight. I think, like I say, the energy from Saturday, the emotional toll that took, maybe showed second half. So we've got a squad for that reason, and we'll look to really get the energy back and come out firing on Saturday. Is the importance of the game underlined because the Cambridge game is off? If you've talked about tired legs, tired minds, there's an opportunity there for a little rest after the Northampton game? Yeah, you know me, I'm not going to build it up to be something it's not. It's if we win, then great. If we don't, then it's another situation that we'll have to work on over the international break. I think the international break will give us maybe a couple of days to get the legs back, but equally I feel like there's loads of work that we want to do in terms of moving us forward. because we have got a busy April. So, the flip side of that is there's going to be very few training days that we can really put some quality work out on the grass. It's going to be recover and prepare. So that 2 weeks is going to give us an opportunity to work. And then we look forward to the Easter programme and what's to come beyond that. So, we're closer to our points target, but I think that's probably moving.
A points target which we don't know of yet. Just
133.
The Cambridge game next Saturday has been moved to the 23rd of April. That's because of international call-ups for Cambridge. They've asked for that to be moved. Joe Jacobson's testimonial event coming.
Joe Jacobson's testimonial event happening on Tuesday evening, a night with Joe Jacobson. Tickets are still available. There are some super special guests joining Joe, hosted by Mr. Phil Catchpole. It's going to be a great evening. I can't really say too much, but there's a lot planned. There will be tears just from me.
It's an emotional night.
It's going to be a great night. Get your tickets, tickets.wwfc.com. Round 3 of Tickets for Wembley out on Monday. Come on, you Blues!